by your definition of utopia, would disability still be a thing in this world?
Personally, no. I mean, I struggle with quite a few disabilities, and in even just a slightly better world, disabilities wouldn't be a thing. In a perfect utopia, I feel that everyone would be able to be themselves. So people who have mental disabilities that impact the way that they interact with people and stuff like that, they would still be themselves, but without the part of their disability that makes their lives harder. So.
People from within the community have said the party is stupid and that we shouldn't do it. Oh my
Really?
God. Yeah.
Why?
Disabled people have said we shouldn't do it. It should be like, oh my God, you're heathens, and why would that happen? Like, they literally call us heathens. It's like, whoa, that's weird. Like, how dare you? Sex is a sacred private thing and means so much to the disabled community and blah, blah. And all we're saying is, we're not asking men to have sex. We're not doing that. We're just providing a space. If you want to fetishize me, go ahead. To be frank, I'd rather be fetishized than discriminated against. I'd rather be fetishized than told I don't exist. I'd rather be seen as a fetish than not seen at all. If I really had to choose.
Hi, I'm Kankan. A while ago, I stood at the peak of Sanhua Mountain in China, 720.8 meters high, looking out over the fields, village, and winding alleys below. The view was mesmerizing and peaceful, almost unreal. In the photos I took, I don't look very happy, but that's only because I was out of the shape and exhausted from the climb. After taking the hybrid body courses, I've started to think about that experience differently. I realized how lucky I was to be able to explore and travel without limitations. At the time, I took that freedom for granted. There were no ramps on the way up the mountain, and the steep path was completely inaccessible to people with physical disabilities. The public spaces I moved through so easily, parks, trails, buses, streets, can become barriers for people with special needs. Looking back, I also noticed something unsettling. I can hardly remember seeing anyone in a wheelchair. It created the illusion that most people are able-bodied. But the reason I didn't see disabled people wasn't because they aren't there. It's because our public spaces aren't designed for them. And they're often pushed into institutions, private homes, or closed-off environments. This is exactly how ableism hides itself. It's not that disabled people don't exist. It's that inaccessible architecture and planning push them out of the public view. When public space excludes people, society starts to believe they don't exist or are rare. And the pattern I'm noticing, one that exists in many societies, is that nature is accessible only to the able-bodied. Leisure is accessible only to the able-bodied. Adventure is accessible only to the able-bodied. Because those who can't access these spaces are absent, their exclusion becomes normal.
Believe it or not, I am secretly happy that both of my kids inherited osteogenesis imperfecta from me. I say secretly, because it is considered odd, even bad, to hope for abnormal features for your own kids. We are more used to hear the narratives with eugenic motifs. In my thinking, the biological purpose of reproduction is to copy the genome of two individuals and to bring forth offspring that resembles their ancestors. When I see typical characteristics of brittle bones disease in my kids, it feels familiar and safe. They are beautiful marvels and examples of biodiversity and human species. Pathologizing some features in people, often just to justify unequal treatment, slows down development. Disability as a phenomenon does not disappear, even though we manipulate bodies or genes. Tampering with individual features does not eliminate discrimination. If we want to increase overall eudaimonia, we should find smarter ways to change attitudes and structures around the whole concept of well-being.
The artist Jenny Julia Wallenheimo-Heimonen views disability not as suffering, but as difference, projecting the notion that disabled bodies should be fixed. What is striking about her work is the centrality of subjectivity. She draws on her own lived experience, transforming personal vulnerability into conceptual and performative art. Through textiles, video, and installations, she invites viewers into her embodied perspective, making her experience of disability legible as both a political and aesthetic statement. In doing so, she calls for transforming social attitudes, environments, and structures so that difference is accepted rather than erased. A similar goal can be found in A.M. Baggs's In My Language, a video about Baggs's experience as a person with autism and how neurotypicals don't understand and refuse to understand the way people with autism and other types of neurodivergence think, or as Baggs simplifies it, their language. Both Baggs and Jenny Julia use film to argue for a world where diverse modes of being are not corrected or normalized out of existence, but recognized as natural and integral to human richness. A world where physical and mental disabilities aren't seen as something to pity, but another facet of humanity with their own culture and valuable knowledge. Seeing disability as difference rather than suffering resonates with Hedva's sick women theory, which asserts the sick woman as a political identity. Importantly, women here is not limited to females. It refers to all bodies denied the privileged existence of the white, straight, healthy, neurotypical, cis, able-bodied, upper or middle-class man positioned at the top of global hierarchies. To name oneself sick and have a sense is to refuse invisibility and to expose the systems that deem certain lives unlivable, a refusal that becomes its own form of resistance. Another identity that the old utopia fails are queer identities. In this case, LGBTQ+ identities suffer from the hegemonic expectations for gender and sexuality, that being heterosexuality and having the same gender that was assigned to you from birth. In Definitions, a video explaining two-spirit and indigenous identities in the indigenous community, the interviewees go into how colonization efforts tried and still try to take away those identities and how indigenous communities fight to this day for its preservation. Going back to Hedva's sick women theory, she states that sickness as we speak of it today is a capitalist construct, as is its perceived binary opposite, wellness. The hegemony, incapable of imagining beyond a single identity, can only see queer identities as another sickness to cure. We see this when Jan Chocket, one of the interviewees, mentions the stereotypes and misconceptions of LGBTQ+ identities. It's a mental illness, a fad, or a phase. Something outside of the norm that'll eventually fix itself later. Due to colonialism and the patriarchy, the authentic white heteronormative body is used as the benchmark, and with that, disabled bodies are not seen as embodiments with unique knowledge, but as problems to solve and materials to extract utility. My Body is Used to Design Military Tech by Britt H. Young makes this dynamic explicit. The text exposes how disabled bodies, especially prosthetic users, are absorbed into militarized systems not as subjects, but as data points used to refine technologies designed to restore or approximate normalcy. Amputees, particularly male veterans, are culturally framed as emasculated, and the proposed solution to fix this perceived loss becomes the acquisition of high-tech, hypermasculinized prosthetic limbs. In this way, hypercapitalism profits directly from disability, turning vulnerability into a market and reinforcing the idea that bodies must be corrected and upgraded to meet normative standards. Instead of creating environments that value variation, these systems discipline difference, monetizing the return to a narrow ideal of bodily integrity and social worth. The podcast Would the Supreme Court Decide the Future of Sex Work in Canada by The Big Story shows how social context and relationality lie at the heart of intersectionality. Identities interweave, shaping and informing one another. In the podcast, they mention how anti-prostitution activists stigmatize and treat selling your body as taboo, stating that the woman's sexuality is hurting them. Yet, as guest Dr. Meredith Ralston states, they don't consider how stigmatizing prostitution perpetuates patriarchal beliefs that also harm women, nor that, for many, it is one of the few ways to make ends meet. People should not be looked down upon for engaging in a consensual job they have chosen to do. A truly healthy society recognizes and includes people with diverse identities, experiences, and means of survival. Just as disability, gender, race, and class intersect to shape lived realities, economic and social marginalization must also be seen as a part of the spectrum of human difference. Valuing these differences rather than enforcing conformity or moral judgment is essential for building a society that is just, inclusive, and capable of holding contradictions. To dismantle the false utopia that capitalism persuades us to accept, we should instead acknowledge entangled identities and embrace contradiction. This means allowing people to be complex, vulnerable, and fully seen. As Hedva reminds us, the most anti-capitalist protest is to care for one another and to care for oneself, to take up practices historically feminized and thus rendered invisible: nursing, nurturing, caring. It requires taking seriously each other's vulnerability, fragility, and precarity, and choosing to support, honor, and empower them. It means protecting one another and uniting community, a radical kinship, and interdependent sociality. A politics of care.
Christoph, how about you?
Christoph, hi, I'm Kieran.
Kieran.
For agreeing to the same
So,
deal. First question. What for you is a utopia or a perfect society?
I guess it would be a society where everyone has like fair chance, like equal chances, equal opportunities, and everything depends on your intrinsic character and not like external constraints that are being imposed on you.
So everything based off character?
That's what I would say, yes. Like everybody can do what they want to do, like how much they can provide, and that's it. Like people would still have to work for what they want, but they would all have the opportunity to do it. They wouldn't have some kind of barrier that totally prevents them in doing what they want to do.
What do you think can be improved in our current society?
Well, right now, my biggest concern is that I see worldwide a tendency to go to the far right, and like politically speaking, I mean, where like more and more people get excluded from the dialogue. So that is what can be improved. Like I think especially people that are privileged should have a good understanding of other people's needs.
And last question. Do you think it is important to have diverse identities, and why?
Diverse identities? Do you mean diverse within a single person, or diverse like within
a
community
filled with diverse people?
Well, yes, this is crucial. Like the world cannot evolve if everybody is thinking the same way. Like it's okay for people to clash opinions and clash like point of views, as long as it's done in the most respectful ways, like that you value like what the other people have to say.
This is the answer to how we'll achieve our new utopia. That is our proposition for its new definition. Not a purified or perfected world, but one capable of holding contradiction, complexity, and non-normative ways of living. Entangled identities extend beyond ableness to include gender, race, class, sexuality, and forms of vulnerability shaped by heteronormativity and social hierarchy. Recognizing these intersections and valuing care, interdependence, and the political force of the so-called sick offers a pathway to a more just world where difference is supported rather than disciplined. Purity and sameness do not eliminate conflict. Difference is inevitable and inherent to humanity. Utopia and dystopia exist as a binary, each defining the other. If the old utopia uselessly aimed to destroy its dystopia, our new utopia would aim to erase the line that separates them, so that we can finally be together as equals.